CC Hiles joining us, senior counsel for the ACLJ. With an ACLJ news story that's happening right now, we're getting involved. And this is, sometimes you think of these cases, they may be really big picture, but sometimes they're very nuanced. Sometimes you don't want to say they're small because the ramifications are gigantic. And the ramifications, by the way, are huge for all of you as well. This is sort of core ACLJ that we have fought for years successfully. And here we are once again with a situation where an employee simply wants to practice their faith in a way where they just want to go to church on Sunday. And a giant company is saying, no, we don't do that here. So go ahead. Let's start us in the beginning where we're at.
Sure. So this is a religious accommodation case, just like you said, Logan, where a client of ours who reached out to us has worked at a company, a very large company, for 6 years, and as a forklift operator, and had really no problems because he worked overnight for a majority of that time. But when he switched to the daytime shift, then all of a sudden he's required to work every other weekend, and he has to. It's mandatory from Friday through Sunday. And so, of course, he wants to go to church. And so he's forced now to miss every other Sunday going to church. And under Title VII, you cannot do that. The law requires, just because you are, going into a workplace, you don't shed your religious rights when you do that. And so Title VII requires companies to give accommodations, religious accommodations, so that people who do want to go to church on Sundays can actually practice their faith, or whatever night it is that you go to church, whatever day you go to church. And actually, where we've actually been helped in this matter is the Supreme Court clarified, before it's this, undue hardship, unless it causes undue hardship for the company. And that was kind of a very low threshold before. But the Supreme Court has clarified that the undue hardship has to substantially interfere with their operations of the employer and or result in excessive costs. So here we have a situation where our client could actually swift shifts, easily to be able to accommodate him. And they just have said basically no originally. And like you said, too, what's really strange is this is a large company, and they did not have workplace policies in place for religious accommodation. So we shot off a demand letter, and we are demanding that they have these accommodations and that they actually accommodate our client.
Yeah, we're getting involved right now. It's happening as we speak. These negotiations and things are happening. This broadcast is also a key part of the legal arm of the ACLJ, where we take your case, whatever you need, we're there for you at no cost. This employee could probably not have afforded to have the legal representation he does, but we're able to do that because of ACLJ supporters. So I encourage you right now, if you're brand new, for those who support ACLJ long-term, great. Become an ACLJ champion. Make your donation right now. If you are just that new person who is finding us for the first time, and look, I know this because I can track the YouTube data. When we have these big days, about 50% of the people watching right now, you may have never seen my face before. So I encourage you to get engaged. The easiest way, the first thing to do, hit that subscribe button. We do this show each and every day, cover the top news of what's going on, also give you the information of how the ACLJ is fighting for you. If you need legal help, also we're there for you at aclj.org/help. But subscribe, hit that thumbs up. We're over 419,000 strong right now on YouTube. So if 419,000 people can't be that wrong. So join us, make that, let's get that up to 1 million. Wouldn't that be amazing? Be a part of that right now. And if you can, of course, support the work well, because as I said, this is not something that this man probably could have easily jumped in and said. He probably would have had to just take it and deal with the fact that this is a job in a bad economy. Don't lose your job over your religious faith, sadly. But now we're able to fight for him because of our ACLJ supporters.
That's right. And in America, you shouldn't have to choose between keeping your job and practicing your faith. And so what we do here is we first send the demand letter. The client comes in, we send a demand letter because that's the quickest way to resolve it for this client, instead of immediately going into litigation, which could drag out for a long time, and therefore he's still being harmed in the meantime. But here we have a deadline, and Cece will get into that in a minute, of them coming back and having a policy that's is acceptable to both the client and the company, that we can then say he can practice his faith and continue to work here and put food on his table. Like you said, this is a time of economic hardship for many. And so therefore, number one, keep your job, continue working, providing for your family, but also you shouldn't have to give up your constitutional right to practice your faith. And so what we do in this demand letter is we outline the law. This is a large company, so they have legal counsel that they, I'm sure, are reviewing it right now. And we will fight, though, if it does have to go to the next step, if it does have to go to litigation to continue to get justice, not just for this employee, but at this large company, any other employee that maybe didn't have the knowledge or didn't think to go to a place like ACLJ to fight for them. And the last thing on their mind is, in this economy, I want to go hire a lawyer to make sure I can go to church on Sunday and still keep my job. But that's what we're doing here. It's no cost to this employee, but it's going to have an effect on anyone at that company when we prevail in this.
Yeah, that's right. And the economic harm, you might think, okay, well, he's having to use, and I didn't clarify this, but they actually forced him to use his part-time off. To actually take off a Sunday instead of accommodating him. So he's, losing money and income. And somebody might think, well, okay, it's just one Sunday every other week. But that can be groceries on your table. That can be, a rent payment. So it's very important that we stand up for his religious liberty and his rights under the law. And like you said, Will, it's absolutely, when we fight and we get this accommodation for our client, it will then have repercussions throughout the whole entire company, that everyone who wants a religious accommodation, hopefully they will then put a religious accommodation policy in place. And that's what we're hopeful for. And like you said, a lot of times we can just do the demand letter quickly, and we're talking to their, legal team, and maybe they realize, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that we didn't have this policy in place. And
best case scenario,
here's the law,
ways,
right?
Yeah.
And you've given us the law, and we know it, and it's supported by a very recent Supreme Court decision. So it's a very strong, strong legal argument for our client. So we're very hopeful. Friday's the deadline, and we're hopeful that we will hear back and have a quick resolution for our client and for everyone who works at this company.
Yeah, so I want to encourage everyone, if you hear this story and you go, hey, maybe the ACLJ could help me. Well, one, we probably can if it's within our scope. I want you to go to aclj.org/help. You fill out really a really simple form that just says, here's the basis of what's going on. Does it fit within our sort of scope of the categories that we do here? And if it does, you get immediately assigned to an ACLJ attorney. I think people need to know that too. They're not going to just a mass telemarketing group that's just going to take your information. No, you're going to be assigned essentially an attorney immediately, and the determination is going to happen whether we can support you or not. So there's no harm in just going to aclj.org/help and say, here's the issue I'm having. Can you guys help? And often we can. And of course we can't do that. And by the way, we help for zero cost. There's zero cost to you as the client or any of the clients. Now, obviously, we can't do that without your financial support. But I'm going to encourage you, even if it seems like meaningless to you, the ACLJ is built on individual donors at a very low level. People that donate $10, $20. I think the average gift's somewhere between $45 and $75. This is not people giving thousands of dollars a month. Collectively, it's amazing because you have things like 21,000 ACLJ champions. You have 420,000 people who get to watch this content for free on YouTube alone. Another couple 100,000 on Rumble. We're able to provide that without a paywall. Why? Because we are supported by you, the ACLJ supporters. And that is why I encourage you to support the work of the ACLJ at aclj.org. During the Life and Liberty Drive for August, we extended it. That means donations are matched because the people said, hey, I want to keep matching. We're going to keep matching it. aclj.org